Hi, welcome to Conflict, Mediation, and You. Today we're going to talk about the conflict process. There's literally a process that conflict goes through. And if we understand what that process looks like, it becomes much easier to find a resolution. Hi, welcome to Conflict, Mediation, and You. I'm Rick.
And I'm Robert.
Hey, Robert.
And we're with you again. And we're going to talk about conflict this week.
Conflict specifically, yes. We've spent a great deal of time talking about mediation, but now we want to focus on conflict itself.
Okay. What conflict is, how it occurs, and how do you deal with it?
Right.
Okay.
And first off, a lot of people misunderstand conflict. We think we understand what it means, how it works, but we have so many misconceptions about conflict. And those misconceptions lead us to try things we think, or we've been taught, that will work when in fact they don't work.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about in one of the past episodes was the number of people it takes to have a conflict. So most people believe that it takes at least two people to have a conflict.
That's the answer I get almost every time when I ask, how many people does it take to have a conflict? And almost everybody in the audience will say two.
Okay. In reality, it takes just one person. One person to have a conflict, and that can be a conflict with yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that conflict can come from many different sources.
Yes.
So even a conflict between two people can create a conflict within one person.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, so I've gotten to the stage where I'm convinced all conflict begins with one person. So a lot of times we end up assuming that it's not a conflict until we have two people engaged and they're heated and they're arguing and they're debating. No, conflict always starts with one individual person. Always starts inside that one person.
that's a little strange. Yeah, hey, I always think, if I'm in a conflict, it's not because of anything that I did, it's somebody else created that.
Uh-huh.
So, if I'm by myself, if I'm alone, there's no conflict. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Really. Really, so if you don't bother me and everything goes along swimmingly, no conflict.
I've had conflicts with myself. Should I admit that in public? Is that a
Occasionally
problem?
you talk to yourself. So
Yeah. Well, that's the only way I can win an argument.
Yeah. And that's how you get into those conflicts. So.
That's right. Yeah.
So.
Shut up. Leave him alone.
You're not a well person.
No. Too much.
Okay. All right. So conflict.
Yes.
And their conflicts are in different stages.
Right. There's a process that it goes through literally. So all conflict begins with one person. It starts inside. So
Okay.
you alluded to earlier, somebody does something. Okay, yeah. Somebody may say something, or they're supposed to do something and they don't do it.
Right.
Or you wanted them to say something and they don't say it.
Right.
And now I'm disappointed. I'm upset. That's where it starts.
So that's where the conflict begins.
The other person may not even know they said anything to hurt my feelings, or that what they did was actually disrespectful or offensive. They may not a clue. But now I'm troubled. I'm bothered, and I'm struggling with what to do with that.
So how do you deal with that type of a conflict? Because if the other person isn't aware of it,
Don't even know.
so how are they going to resolve it?
So, for example, let's say intimate relationship, an anniversary, right? And somebody forgets the anniversary date. Now the other person's really upset. They've been waiting all day to hear some acknowledgement that they remembered this special date. And it's eating them up inside, right? They're getting angry, they're getting frustrated. And at that point in time, that person who's having the struggle inside has a choice. They can either let it go, not worry about it, not let it bother them, or they can engage the other person So I'm going to have a conversation with them.
So the choices are to let it go or to engage.
Right.
Is that simple?
I think so. I think,
You think so,
between
huh?
those two, that's the struggle inside. Either one is an effort to address that pressure that's growing inside, that's building up.
Okay.
So if I sit here and go, it's no big deal, I understand, I'm just making a big deal about nothing. See, all this is going on inside that one person. There's a conflict going on. Should I say something? No, that'll just cause more trouble. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to forgive them. I'm just going to not let it bother me.
So you haven't said anything to the other person.
Not a word.
So this conflict is within yourself.
Yep.
And then you make a choice that you're going to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really the end of the conflict?
If I can actually let it go,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
I mean, the conflict's over. If I say, no big deal, forget it. And we do that all the time, I think. I mean, somebody pulls out in front of you and you get upset. I mean, you could ram their car, right? Or we could let it go. So
I'm going to come back to the anniversary piece. The ramming of the car, that's a whole different
conflict.
Yeah,
within you.
that's another conflict. Right. But in the example that you use, forgetting the anniversary,
Yeah.
and most of the time it's the guy that forgets the anniversary. At least that's what we've been led to believe.
Mm-hmm.
So he forgets the anniversary, and the wife, girlfriend, says, she'll make a choice, a decision to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
But then, 11 months later, there's another anniversary coming up. If the previous conflict was actually let go,
Mm-hmm.
there might be another anniversary coming up.
Yep.
So now this, whatever was being repressed, is coming back to the surface again.
And there could be many things that trigger that. It could be, a promise to take out the trash, or, I'll mail that letter. And that disappointment triggers the previous disappointment. He's always letting me down. I can't depend on him. He's constantly going back on his word. So anything could trigger that, which actually I think is an indication that we hadn't let it go.
That it really had never went anyplace.
Right.
Okay.
Right. See, I see a lot of people, let's take even a workplace example,
Yeah.
where they sit there and go, okay, that person, insulted me, or they disappointed me, but for the sake of the workplace, I'm going to let it go. And we think that's the noble thing to do. And what we fail to recognize is how much energy it takes to really let something go. And we've been taught, so in the societal setting, that the noble thing is to forgive and forget, right? But we minimize how much energy that takes. So no matter what, in a conflict, you're going to expend energy. You're going to either expend energy letting it go, or you're going to spend the energy engaging the other person. And I'm not sure really which one's the greater energy. It depends. This could take a lot more energy letting it go than just talking to the person.
Well, it takes a lot more energy to say let it go and then holding on to it.
Absolutely.
So the use of energy comes into play. So if I engage, then I probably am going to use less energy.
Possibly, but we're scared. I mean, to talk to this person, it could blow up. It could really be a big scene. And we're afraid maybe how much energy it would take. And so we think, all right, I'll invest the energy over here. But then it does. We really don't let it go.
Yeah.
We could be doing this for the rest of our lives, letting it go.
Until retirement day from the job anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that could just wear you down. I mean,
Yeah.
it could actually make you sick in the long run if you're not careful.
So that sounds like what we've been talking about is really a one-person conflict?
Yep. Conflict begins all the time with this one person.
Okay.
And that one person must decide whether they're really going to let it go or they're going to engage.
Okay.
And if they say let it go, it means they can live with this pain. They can live with whatever the loss was that's involved. I can live with that. That's no big deal. And really, we do it all the time. There are a bunch of little minor transgressions that cross our path, but we give the other person the benefit of the doubt, maybe, you know, because we trust them, we love them, and so we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. In some cases, it is easy to let it go. But in others, it's not always the noble step that we've been taught. It really could take a great deal of energy.
And since we aren't really taught how to let it go, it really doesn't go anyplace. And I know I keep going back to that. I mean, we've been talking about this back and forth for quite a while, is that the one person conflict, as you've said, really is the source of the two or more party conflict.
All the time. So here, once I decide, all right, I can't let it go. I've got to address this. This is too important or too big, or if this behavior continues, I got to put a stop to this. So I'm going to come and engage that person. We're going to have a conversation. I'm going to confront them.
Mm-hmm.
That takes also a lot of energy, and I got to figure out what to say, how to say it, how I'm going to frame it, what I'm going to do. What if they say this? What if they say that? That's when suddenly it's a two-person conflict. I've literally invited the other person in. I've been in situations. You may have been in situations where somebody comes to me and says, you know, what happened the other day, or I was expecting such and such, and you didn't come through, and I'm really hurt by that. I didn't know that was bothering them. And now this may be the first time that I'm even made aware that there's a conflict.
Yeah. One of the things that you mentioned some time ago is that in doing mediation, and most of the mediations that we do are, we believe they're at the two-party level.
Right.
When in fact they might still be at the one-party level.
Say more, yes.
And even though there might be a second party in the room that might not be completely aware of what the conflict is, one person is, but they're dealing with something that hasn't been placed on the table.
Yes.
So the mediation becomes a place where the conflict is revealed to the second party.
Yeah.
As strange as that sounds, that's where sometimes that's what's happening.
And we've both had this experience with workplace, right? You've had that experience. Describe.
Well, usually somebody has a problem.
Yes.
And they've been dealing with this problem for some time, but nobody knows about it but them. But it builds up and builds up to the point where they might file a complaint.
Yeah.
And that becomes the time, or the first time, that the other party is aware that party one is upset.
As upset, right?
So we need to talk a little bit about that and how that plays out. But right now, I think we need to take a quick break and let our sponsors have a word. So.
That'd be good.
Okay.
10 years to learn the business. 10 years to make a name. 1 year on your own. It takes time to build a small business, but only 60 days to transform it with email marketing from Constant Contact. Sign up with Constant Contact and get 60 days of free email marketing to generate referrals, connect with clients, and build the business you've always wanted. Constant Contact. Start your 60-day free trial today.
What happens when soldiers come home? Brene Foundation offers hero support to ensure that our heroes abroad can continue to be heroes at home. We link veterans with organizations who are dedicated to guiding the transition from military hero to civilian hero. If you want to find out how you can support our troops at home, please contact the Brene Foundation or visit brene.com.
Okay, so we were talking about a workplace complaint, starting out as a complaint, and when that, I'm going to say party one files that complaint, is when party two finds out that there is an issue.
Right.
And that usually comes out as the complaint, or the conflict comes out as something that's filed with EEO.
Or it's about to.
Okay.
So it could be an HR representative, an HR director who hears about this. They go for some sort of counseling in the HR, or an EEO counselor. And then they're tasked with having to go talk to the other person and figure out what to do. Or it goes formal into some sort of complaint process. But yeah, that's an excellent example of it starts with one person.
Yeah.
All the time.
And then once it's made public, then a choice has to be made.
Yeah.
Yeah. Party one has made the choice to engage, but if party two chooses not to, then it could still remain a one-party conflict.
Yes.
That sounds confusing.
Well, and I could see, I've come and I've complained, and the HR person says, well, you really don't have a formal complaint. There's nothing we can do about that. Now it's still eating at the person. The other person could go, yeah, I'm not going to talk to him at all, right? And now I think it, in fact, would escalate at that point, because now not only have I reached out for some assistance, but you've dismissed me. That's even worse.
So now the conflict escalates.
I think so. I think that person would feel like they've got to up the ante to get their concerns addressed.
So once I've put it out there that I have a complaint, and a supervisor or someone makes a choice that, this is no big deal, just forget it,
Right.
then that party still has that churning within them. So now the conflict has to come out. I say has to.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what do we usually do when we're hurt or somebody has done something that we feel is wrong? Where do we go?
Well, we can take it out on ourselves.
Yeah.
But most of the time, that's not what happens. I mean, we're going to go after somebody or something,
Right.
to resolve this issue.
So in the workplace, how do people usually retaliate in the workplace?
Well, the first step might be to follow a complaint.
Right.
And it might be informal. But then if nothing is addressed, then it moves into a formal complaint.
Yeah.
And that's when it could go to, as you said earlier, HR or EEO. And then HR might decide, well, this might be an opportunity to do mediation. And they will try that.
That could trigger that as an option to resolve this.
So,
But let's go back a step. Even if, let's say I'm dismissed, right? The other person won't engage, management won't take it seriously. Typically, we don't want to put any ideas into people's heads out there, but usually retaliation goes at attacking morale in the workplace. I'm going to go talk to my colleagues, and I'm going to talk to my friends and get this support group around me and leverage this us versus them motif.
where are you going with this? This sounds like this could get into something that could be a workplace disruption.
Correct. So productivity goes down, morale goes down, and obviously then your return on your investment, you're not going to be. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you time. It's going to hurt the company in the long run. I've never seen anybody just have a complaint and keep it to themselves.
Never?
No. They usually go talk to, they want support. Am I crazy? I mean, should I be? No, you're right. This shouldn't happen. We need to do something. And pretty soon, we're in the break room, and we've got righteous indignation, and hey, come over here. Look, listen to what happened to. And they're going, yeah, they did that again. They did that. And pretty soon, this is big.
So we started out with someone who, irritated about something.
Yes.
Then, they tried to resolve it, and they were dismissed.
Right.
Dismissed in the sense that nobody thought it was worth any time or effort. So they go into the break room and they started complaining about it. So they rally the troops around them, so to speak. Now, skipping several steps, we could end up with a walkout
Yeah.
or a strike.
Yeah.
That sounds like major conflict.
It could be, yeah. And all that with just one person. I had somebody ask me one time, we were talking about some of the techniques or, the characteristics of conflict. And the person asked, will this work with personal conflict? And my response was, all conflict is personal. I mean, there's no way around that. It feels like a personal attack. There's something at risk to me. And so to reach out to others for some sort of support, it just seems inevitable. I see it all the time.
So all conflict is personal.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I think so. I could be wrong. I was wrong once. And
then-
that time, I just can't trust myself.
Well, I'm trying to wrap my head around all conflict being personal.
Okay.
That just I
Doesn't
can't
seem
get-
right?
No,
Yeah.
no. If I'm in the workplace
Mhm.
and the workplace is not a personal place, though.
Really?
Yeah, never thought about it as being a personal place.
I know we talk about, leave that personal stuff at home. This is the workplace. Don't bring that
Yeah.
stuff here. I don't know that any of us can really do that. You got kids sick at home or, special needs kids at home and, babysitters, child care. I mean, it's just, I don't know that we could draw a line in our lives like that.
All conflict is personal.
Don't agree? Now, careful, you're going to hurt my feelings here in a minute. I'm going to take this
No,
personal.
no, I don't. Folks that hear this, they might feel the same way that I do.
Oh.
I just, trying to think of a time when I felt that it was personal.
Yeah.
Because it's always a conflict that happens with and that I'm involved with is usually somebody else's fault, not mine. So that's not personal.
Okay, so what would you call that? If it's not
Somebody
personal?
else's fault.
Okay,
It's not, forget it. That's their stuff, not my stuff.
let it go.
Yeah.
So it doesn't become personal. You really can let it go.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why would you even have to decide to let it go if it didn't somehow affect you personally? To make that choice.
Well, the choice is, as you said, whether or not it affects me.
Yes.
So, if something happens, somebody cuts me off in traffic, I have a choice. Yeah, they cut me off, so what?
They're just,
That's them.
yeah. So you could let it go.
Yeah, in that case, I let it go.
So it's not personal until we actually feel like we have to work at letting it. If you don't have to work at letting it go, it's not personal.
That's probably right. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
So,
it's just somebody else's stupidity.
somebody else's stuff.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't have to own that stuff. So it would never become a conflict for me.
be a neat way to go through life.
Yeah, I suppose if I could, that sounds, I could be some sort of Zen, just take responsibility for myself. But could we do that?
You don't agree with that?
Well, I don't know. I think that would be great to do that. Maybe I'm just too sensitive, but sometimes it hurts. Not that someone cuts me off, oh, they don't like me. That's not, no. But there are times when I can't let it go.
So that's when the conflict escalates.
I've got to say something.
Mm.
I've got to do something. Let's put it this way. I have to engage my energy one way or the other, because I suppose I've taken things personal that I didn't need to.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I could admit to that.
That sounds like it might be a conversation for a longer ride.
Yes, we don't necessarily need to jump into that one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But see, this is what's conflict can be. It's just so interesting to me. These kind of conversations about what works, what doesn't, what's the impact, what's literally going on when a conflict arises. I just find, I may be strange, but I find that just fascinating.
No, I go back. I think back to mediation sessions, and they can be very interesting to watch how it unfolds. You know, how the conflict started, where it is now, and where the parties choose to take it. So yeah, that's always interesting to me.
If I came to you with something, let's say the workplace again, that a manager or someone did, and I'm upset, and I came to you as my colleague, would you advise me to not take it personally?
I don't think I would do that.
Okay.
You know, because something, whatever is happening with you, it is personal to you.
Or I wouldn't have come to you.
Right.
It's already past that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
So I might engage you to see what it is and to see if I might be able to help work you through it.
Mhm.
But if that doesn't work, if that fails, then the choice for you might be to engage the other party.
Well, and that's where we need to go next, in the next episode. That whole step of engaging the other person has its own dynamics as well. The mechanisms that are operating in there gives us a little more insight into how conflict works.
And you're going to cover that. We'll cover that in the next episode.
Yeah, let's go ahead and we've done the let it go or engage, and we've focused already on the how much energy it takes, right, to let it go, and if you really can. So let's dive more deeply into this idea of engaging the other person in our next episode.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. I'll close this up.
So should we park the car?
Yeah, I think we are where we are supposed to be, so we need to kind of pull it over,
Park it. Let's get out.
get out. So, where can they contact us if they need to?
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. You can contact us at Center for Dispute Solutions. The telephone number is 404-991-0072.
Okay, great.
See you next time.
So long.